In the southeast of the Mediterranean, Israel presents a great variety of landscapes. The coastal plain, a fertile land, stretches deep into the territory's interior. From north to south, a dorsal chain of hills whose altitude can reach over 1,000 meters runs through the country. But what's most spectacular is the lowest point on the planet, the Dead Sea, 400 meters below sea level. Many civilizations have left traces on this land. For people in antiquity like the Romans, this region, called Palestine, was of great strategic importance. The Byzantines took over from them, and they were followed by the Muslims. The installation of Islam provoked a reaction in the Occident and the beginning of the Crusades. After the Muslims, the Ottomans gained control, but Napoleon intervened. Just before the end of the Ottoman Empire, the British arrived with the First World War. They controlled Palestine for 30 years. As early as the end of the 19th century, the idea of creating a state of Israel was put forward by Theodor Herzl, an Austrian Jew, with the aim of reacting to anti-Semitism in Europe. The country became a reality in 1948. The State of Israel was created following a recommendation by the United Nations that also advocated the creation of a second state, an Arab state, in Palestine. During the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel conquered certain neighboring countries like Sinai, since returned to Egypt, the Gaza Strip, the Syrian Golan Heights, and the West Bank. These borders are still disputed. Tel Aviv is the capital of the country for the international community. It's to Tel Aviv that diplomatic representatives are sent. Its foundation goes back to the end of the 19th century. Jerusalem, 3,000 years old, is considered the capital by Israelis. It's there that political institutions have their headquarters. In 1950, Parliament voted the law of return, which allowed Jews from the world over to immigrate to the country created for them. The law meant they could become Israeli citizens, receive Hebrew lessons, as well as financial aid. Arabs represent a fifth of the national population. Among them are the Bedouins, who have almost totally lost their traditional lifestyle. The population is relatively young. Almost 30% of Israelis are under 14 years of age. Israel is also the country where one sees the largest number of single people. But that has not stopped the population from multiplying by 8 since the state's foundation. The army is omnipresent. In fact, military service is compulsory, with 3 years service for men and 2 for women. 80% of Israelis are Jewish. Judaism is the oldest of monotheist religions. Having no central authority, Jews refer to original texts and to their instruction. One of the most sacred places in Judaism, the Wailing Wall, was erected 2,000 years ago. Jerusalem is also very important for Muslims. It's one of the holy cities of Islam. Because Christ lived his last hours here, Jerusalem is at the heart of the Christian faith. For Christians of all persuasions, the town is an ineluctable place of pilgrimage. The traditions of the 3 monotheist religions are naturally very much alive here. Coming from Europe or straight from America, the most varied influences inspire the Israelis. Ancient monuments are carefully integrated into modern settings. Conservation of the past is not incompatible with modernity. All traditions attest to a multifaceted culture. Folklore is a living example. Hebrew is the national language. On many signs, it has its place alongside Arabic and English. Practicing Jews follow a strict diet. kosher food follows it, but other specialities also have their place.
This is called saluf. This bread is made from whole wheat and bit of white flour. We put on it za'atar, olive oil, and some other things.
The Jewish tradition also includes a thorough knowledge of medicinal plants.
Here what we see is actually a tree of walnut, and walnut is known as a very strong antibiotic.
Knowing one's body and the taste for rhythm are part of the country's culture, in which Israelis find edification that is sometimes at odds with security. Israel is a country that has been on the alert since its creation, and its territory is under constant surveillance. Any means of defense possible is used to prevent hostile incursion. The separation wall in the West Bank is hundreds of kilometers long. During its construction, there were attempts at reconciliation from both sides. But the guns will have to fall silent in order to hear the messages of love. Some have paid with their lives for the cause of peace. Celebrated defenders of the country and great names in its history, homage is paid to their sacrifice. As soon as it became independent, Israel set itself an ambitious challenge, ensuring the infrastructures necessary for the distribution of water. Water was plentiful in the north, but was cruelly lacking in the barren south. Pumping equipment and piping demanded enormous investment for a young country. A large amount of the international aid was swallowed up in construction. Hundreds of thousands of acres of poor land was in this way made productive. In the struggle to develop land, the kibbutz played a large part. These very highly defended community farms were organized around collective buildings. In the beginning, the kibbutz had a primarily agricultural vocation. Many spend their whole lives on them. Water management and land improvement led to considerable agricultural development. The area of land cultivated has more than doubled since independence. Today, internal agricultural production provides for the major food needs of the country. Research has led to improvement in certain fruits, and others have acclimatized. Israel has become world leader in the field of reforestation, a field in which Zehev Kedem works.
Our activities has three colors: brown to maintain the land, blue to add water resources to this country, and green to plant trees.
For a long time concentrated on rural life, Israel has diversified its skills. The Israeli diamond market is one of the biggest in the world. Cutting the hardest of precious stones is a flourishing activity in the country. Industry employs a fifth of the active population, a surprising figure when you think that the country has few natural resources, apart from potassium, phosphates, and a few other minerals. Power stations supply almost all electricity. The sun is a complementary source. New constructions must have a solar water heater. All possible solutions are exploited to reduce the energy bill. The country has developed nuclear energy, but not for civil purposes. Today, Israel is at the peak of the high technology sector. The city of Tel Aviv is among the world's leading high-tech business centers. A tight network of communications completes Israel's equipment. The economy benefits from the income brought by pilgrims who come in the hundreds of thousands to visit the holy places every year. But tourism has other outlets. The weather is propitious, and a swim in the Dead Sea is a fine demonstration of the laws of physics. When the country has become a haven of peace, it will have accomplished the most noble of its dreams for the future.